What's good, y'all, and welcome to my review for Takeover in Your House 2022. Holy fuck, what a takeover this was. This was an amazing takeover, ladies and gentlemen. This was a lot better than I was expecting it to be, especially given what happened with Stand and Deliver. A great, amazing show in its own right, but you guys know I thought WrestleMania was better, and it also was probably the first, only ever takeover given something less than a 10, So I was like, whatever. And, the build was, there was a build for this show, nothing really groundbreaking or anything. There was never really a match that I was like super into, super excited for it. And, for God's sake, JD didn't even review this show. He didn't even watch it. Like, I was checking his Twitter throughout the show, being like wondering where he was gonna tweet something, but he didn't tweet a damn thing about this show. So he obviously didn't watch it. That should tell you a lot about the state of NXT when JD doesn't even review the takeover. But yeah, man. This show was amazing. This is definitely the best takeover of the 2.0 era. And yeah, man. The shooting star Presto. That shooting star Presto, man. Holy fuck. That tag match was fucking incredible. Fucking amazing. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump right into the actual show. So we started the show off with Legado del Fantasma versus the family, or Tony D squad. I don't know if they have an official name yet or not. The family, whatever though. The Godfather Knockouts, whatever you want to call them. This was the match that I was definitely the most anticipated for. This was the one I was most hyped for. And this match was fucking awesome. First off, I was kind of surprised with the crowd because the crowd for this match was very heavily in the corner of Legado del Fantasma, which I was kind of surprised with because I was expecting either them to be fully behind Tony D, or it was going to be like a 50-50 split where like half the crowds is chanting Legado chanting for Legado, the other half is chanting for Tony D. That did not happen. Legado was were the favorites in this match. They were the one the crowd was firmly behind. They were even chanting Legado to their theme music as they were coming out, which I thought was pretty good. I'm pretty sure that's the first time I've ever heard them do that. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But that happened. They made their entrance, and actually after Legado makes their entrance, they actually tell the ref, "Hey, check the steps for the crowbar." And the ref ends up finding the crowbar. Then when Tony D gets into the ring with his team after a little promo package thing, once they get in the ring, he tells the ref to go check for the brass knucks. I'm pretty sure he didn't end up finding anything. So then the match began, and it sounded like at the start of it that it was going to start off with Tony D and Santos Escobar starting out. That did not happen, and it ended up being, I think it was like Lopez with Stacks. I forget. It was the cronies going. It was the henchmen going at it first to start the match off. So they were going at it for a while. They were going out. Then eventually, eventually Santos and Tony D get tagged in. The crowd goes batshit insane, and then they start going out with like a collar and elbow tie up, and they're just like throwing each other around the ring as they're going at before they just start going ham on each other. Eventually, you have the other two members of Legado jumping off the top into Stacks and two dives, and then Santos does a suicide dive. Like right after they do this, it's like perfectly timed. Santos then does like a suicide dive onto Tony D on the other side of the ring. So they kept going at it. So these two kept going at it, and eventually, of course, we get to the end of the match where eventually one of the guys manages to grab another crowbar and gives it to Tony. And while that's going on, the woman of Legado, I forget her name, I'm sorry. She comes in there and hands Santos the brass knucks. So then, and I believe it was Vic that was on commentary saying "Oh, it's an arms race," because you have the other guys trying to distract them. Oh, but speaking of this, I also forgot to mention this moment. Eventually, of course, hell started breaking loose once Santos and Tony D were in the ring and they were going at it. Of course, the other guys of their factions come in there and start beating each other up, and it was all hell broke loose. And then eventually, of course, you get that War Games thing where everyone's staring at each other, or they all just charge at each other. I always mark out for that shit, man. That's just me personally. I always love when they do that, whether it's War Games or here when you have all the team members all standing across from each other, looking at each other, looking at each other face to face, and they just start charging at each other. I love that shit, man. I always pop big for that. And tonight was no different, which was Legado and Tony D. So anyway, back to where I was. They both get their weapons of choice. Eventually, while the other guys are distracting them, eventually, like, Tony D goes for the crowbar, but he ends up missing it. I believe one of the other members of Legado ends up getting the crowbar from him. He goes to hit Tony D with it, but then he ends up dodging it. I think Stax was the one that ends up getting hit with it. Then Tony D grabs the brass knucks, I forget how he got it, and then punches one of the members of Legado, sending him to the ground. And then, of course, while Stax, I believe it was, is dazed, Two Darks literally just pushes him, literally just pushes him. The dude falls on top of one of the guys of Legado. He ended up missing because you could see him kind of moving his body around to make sure he was like on top of him for the pin. And then, of course, gets the 1, 2, 3. And then you see Santos' face, man. Bro, Santos' face when he realized that he is now part of the family, the Don of NXT. He answers to the Don of NXT, the Godfather. You will come to me on the night of my daughter's wedding, you know? Seriously, that whole Don celebration, not celebration, that inauguration or whatever the fuck it was called for Tony D once he became the Don of NXT, bro. Like I'm sure you could pick a drinking game how many Godfather references are probably in there. I didn't really catch any because I haven't really seen the Godfather movies. I saw the first one, I was like 15, barely remember it. But I'm sure to the guys that have watched the Godfather movies religiously, y'all could probably, there's probably like 15 references to those movies in that one segment. But his face was absolutely priceless when he realizes that he now has to answer to the Don of NXT, Tony D. Because I was rooting for Tony D. This is another reason why I thought they were going to be the count Tony D. Just for how storyline was, and I was also rooting for Tony D. Also, that was another reason why I was kind of surprised the crowd was so behind Legado. Understandably, because Legado's fucking awesome. I thought they were going to be Tony D's corner. Tony D. But yeah, man, that match was fucking incredible, man. That was definitely one of the best matches of the card. If you had, I would probably have to guess that was maybe my third favorite match, maybe my second. Not sure, but it would be in my top 3 at the very least. That match was fucking amazing, man. So next up was the women's tag title match between Toxic Attraction and Casey Conzero. Don't know why they've changed their name, and Kaden Carter. This was a pretty good match. I will say this, as well as the women's title match, were definitely the weakest matches on the card. For me personally, they were both good matches. Don't get me wrong, they weren't terrible, but they weren't takeover matches. You know, like I would say all the other matches were of that takeover club. Maybe not full Johnny Gargano, you know, type takeover classics and everything, but I would say that those matches belonged on a takeover. For whatever that means nowadays, because, you know, Triple H isn't doing this anymore, but those felt like takeover matches. These felt more like NXT matches, you know? Like, they're both good matches, but didn't really, you know, knock my socks off. Nothing you haven't already seen. But there was some pretty cool offense in this match with Casey Conzero and Kaden Carter. So first off, you had like mostly Toxic Attraction be on the offense first, then Kaden Carter and Casey Conzero would get a little bit more offense before we're basically going back to Toxic Attraction. But they did have some pretty cool spots here with Kaden Carter and Casey Conzero. Like one of them was where basically Casey is sitting on top of the top rope, and then you had Gigi on the floor, and then you had the other member, Toxic Attraction, can't remember her name, rushing right towards him. And then what happened? And then the interesting thing about her, then Casey basically picks her up in like a body slam kind of position, lifts her up to Casey, and then basically Casey from this position basically does a Hurricanrana off the second rope, and basically just has her slamming right into falling right on top of Gigi Dolan. That would look pretty good. There was another one where Casey kind of rolls off the top rope, landing on Kaden's back before she kind of pushes her back up, jumps up a little bit, and she flips back over to I think she was with Genie at this time. That spot also looked pretty cool. But Toxic Attraction would eventually retain the titles and win the match. Like I said, a solid match overall, but nothing too crazy, nothing. But then the show picked back up again with Carmelo Hayes and Cameron Grimes. Tear the moon! This match was fucking spectacular. So, when we started the match off, we have them both locked into a collar of time, and basically they're just throwing each other all over the ring, refusing to give any ground before they eventually stop grappling. They kind of like they basically kind of go like tick for tat, like counter each other's moves, and like Cameron constantly gets up before Cameron fires off his next attack. They both just kind of stare at each other, man. That was pretty cool. Eventually, Cameron tries to go for the cave-in, but Carmelo manages to like dodge it and like falls down to like into the corners on the ground and Carton, and you have Cameron like holding his finger up, doing like, yo, I was this close to getting it, and he's just staring at him like he saw it goes while he has his hype man hyping him up. They keep going at him, man. There were so many bad, just crazy spots in this match. But probably my favorite one from the night was when Carmelo Hayes goes for that movie where he does it off the second rope. But Cameron ends up catching him there, and then does like, I don't know what the fuck this move is called. It was like a reverse Spanish fly off the second rope, where instead of like it being like a rock bottom and then they flip it and then like, you know, they do the flip. This time they were both kind of like this. They were both kind of facing the hard cam, and then they did the flip. It looked fucking insane, man. That was pretty cool. Of course, you had I believe it was Vic Joseph on commentary mentioned like, oh, North American titles never changed hand in a July pay-per-view. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Premium live event. Go fuck yourself. Pay-per-view. But of course, I was like, oh, thanks for jinxing it, man. Which of course, obviously, you guys know what happened. Cameron won the title, which I was a little salty about. I was kind of hoping Cameron would keep the title, but hey, Carmelo Hayes did a lot of good with that championship, so whatever. It's probably gonna be some more good. It looks good on him. He did a lot good with that championship when he had it the first time, so it's probably going to be more of the same here with the second time, although I kind of wish Cameron got to keep it for a little bit longer, but that's just me. Obviously, eventually, as the match progresses on, his hype man constantly keeps interfering in the match, constantly keeps getting but then eventually Cameron Grimes. I wish Cameron Grimes won the match, but no. Carmelo Hayes hits his finisher off the top rope for the 1, 2, 3. Phenomenal match, man. A lot of amazing spots. That like reverse Spanish fly thing was obviously probably the highlight for me. A lot of great matches. Sad that Cameron Grimes is no longer the North American Championship. I was so happy when he won it, but hey, I'm sure Carmelo's going to do a lot of good with the championship again like he did the first time. And overall, man, this was a phenomenal match. So next up was the women's match between Mandy Rose and Wendy Choo. Like I mentioned earlier, this, along with the women's tag team match, were my least favorite matches in the card. Both were good matches, but like nothing spectacular or nothing that knocked your socks off. Now, first thing I gotta talk about before we jump right into the actual match itself is I gotta talk about Wendy Choo real quick, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever mentioned Wendy Choo in any of my takeover reviews. Just because I haven't really gotten the chance to. I don't think she's had any matches or made really any appearances yet. I hate her gimmick. I really do. Like, I remember, if you guys follow me on Twitter, because I've mentioned this a couple times on Twitter, I hate this woman's gimmick. This whole like, oh, sleepy thing. Like, she's good in the ring, thank God. She kind of has to be with a gimmick this stupid. But this gimmick is just so goddamn stupid, man. Like, I remember when I first saw Wendy Choo and she made her debut in NXT, I was like, Jesus Christ, NXT really is dead. Because you would never see this kind of shit on 1.0 back when Triple H was still running it. This gimmick was fucking absurd, man. Like I said, she's really good in the ring, I've noticed that, but this gimmick is just stupid. I do not find the appeal of this gimmick. I don't really like it particularly. This is not pro wrestling to me. This is not my this is not my type of pro wrestling. I don't like gimmicks like this, man. I think it's dumb. Like, Orange Cassidy's one thing. That's his gimmick is awesome. I loved his gimmick, and he's also really good in the ring. But just Wendy Choo, this is just dumb. This is just stupid. But that's just me, man. I don't like the gimmick. I don't like her. I don't particularly like her gimmick. But like I said, she's really good in the ring. So this match is pretty good. They first started up with like the calling out by time. Mandy, of course, was having the offense throughout most of the match. Wendy would actually like there was this one thing where like Wendy like tried to go for like a baseball slide onto the outside, but then Mandy countered it into a spine buster on the outside. She goes back into the ring, grabs her championship, and starts like holding it up and be like, "Yeah, I won the match." While the ref is counting, and then Wendy just like barely gets the count in. You also had like Mandy going for like those thrusts, like those shoulder thrust things in the corner. I don't know if they actually have a particular name or not. Well, she's just like, she's just like screaming. She's trying to go Super Saiyan or something. Also, but one thing I'm almost going to mention, probably the most interesting part of this match wasn't even from the match. It was on the commentary where I believe it was Vic Joseph mentioned it was meant talking about Wendy, about the shenanigans with Wendy and Mandy with like the tanning bed when she like where she got like sunburn or whatever because she was in the tanning bed for too long, and then, and then I believe Vic was going off about like Wade was going off, man, and Vic was said something like, oh, like who cares about beauty or whatever or something like that. He was like, what are you talking about, man? This is the entertainment biz. Everyone cares about beauty standards, and he just goes off about that, and I'm like. He's low-key right, though, to be fair. Wade's low-key right about that. I thought that was pretty interesting. That was like the most interesting part of the match was that little exchange about beauty standards. But yeah, Wade was amazing on commentary tonight, man. Seriously, the commentary was amazing tonight. That was pretty fun. But anyway, as the match continues on, Wendy is down on the corner, and then Mandy goes for a running knee in the corner. But Wendy, this I actually thought was pretty clever. I thought this was pretty good, and this was a nice, clever use of her gimmick, where she actually grabs the pillow she's been like carrying around with her and uses it as a shield to block the attack or to soften the blow of the running knee, which I honestly thought was pretty clever, man. I thought that was pretty funny. But then Wendy grabs it, be like, "Are you kidding me?" She then opens it up and starts ripping out the stuffing from it before throwing it into the crowd. This makes Wendy go full sicko mode, and she just starts going off on Mandy, man. This was pretty cool. This one next was pretty cool. But eventually she ends up like taking off the top, and like also another thing, I don't know if it mentions, but she also came out tonight in this is another reason why I don't like her gimmick, because I just thought this was stupid. Usually she comes down like in PJs, like those slipper things on top of her wrestling boots. And like she has like this ridiculous hairstyle. I do not like it, man. With her Slurpee cup or whatever. I said, but this is also kind of why I don't like her gimmick. She came out tonight wearing like these like 80s style / 90s style like tracksuit. It just looked ridiculous to me personally. I don't know. Like the crowd clearly likes her, man. Good on them, man. More power to you. This just isn't for me. This just ain't for me, man. But anyway. They keep going. But as the match continues on, Wendy takes the top part off of her tracksuit. She wraps it around her waist, and then she goes in for the submission hold. I don't think they ever gave it a name. It looked like the Oscar lock, like a modified Oscar lock kind of thing. It looked a little bit different from the Oscar lock, but that's the only move I can really compare it to. That happened. Also, Mandy also did this was actually I thought was pretty interesting. Where she did a modified abdominal stretch, where she instead she had one of Wendy's arms wrapped underneath her leg, while she wrapped her leg around one of the other legs that around one of Wendy's leg. It looked pretty good, man. I got it there. I like that new submission she tried out with the modified abdominal stretch. But anyway, Mandy eventually rips her, throws her off the top rope, and then she goes for the running knee for the 1, 2, 3 to of course retain the title. Solid match, like I said before, pretty good match. I enjoyed it, but like I said, nothing that knocked my socks off. So next up was the Creed Brothers versus Pretty Deadly for the NXT Tag Team Championships. This match was fucking awesome. This was probably either my second or my third favorite match on the card. Like I said, it's added with Legado del Fantasma. This match was amazing. I had so much fun watching this match. Now, the Creed, after the main makes for interest, we also found the Creed Brothers' parents were also in attendance in the front row, obviously cheering on their sons. One thing I thought was pretty cool, I believe Julius started the match off with one of the Creed Brothers. I think it was the one with the blonde hair. I don't know I forget their names. I'm sorry, y'all know shit with names. But one thing I thought was pretty cool and kind of clever is that they start the match off. They're both kind of in those wrestling positions, but he's slowly backing up to his corner with his hand behind his back, and then the other guy the Pretty Deadly tags him in without Julius knowing, and he goes after him, and then obviously he gets the surprise attack on him. I thought that was pretty clever. They go at it. Eventually, you also had Julius little deadlift, one of the members of Pretty Deadly. I'm pretty sure this one was the blonde one, and lifts him all the way up into the air before he slams him back down. Man, seriously, the Creed Brothers are fucking strong as hell, man. Seriously, Jesus H Christ, man. As the match progresses on, they the Creed Brothers do double German suplexes on them. I think they even both of them lock the ankle locks on both of them. They're Pretty Deadly runs out of the ring, and they're just God damn it, all frustrated. There was another time where one of the Creed Brothers got in, and one of the members of Pretty Deadly instantly runs out to the outside, goes back inside the ring, and then obviously so it's the kicks that we see them do we've seen heels do a couple times. You had that. One of the members, a pretty deadly lock in the Roderick Strong submission hold, the stronghold, I believe is what it's called. Which I swear to God, didn't Roddy always like cross the legs like in more of a sharpshooter position rather than being just a straight up Boston Crab, or was it or like the lion tamer sort of thing? I could swear it was like not just a straight up like Boston Crab, Walls of Jericho knockout type thing. I don't know. I could be wrong on that one. But yeah, you also had like Brutus doing that cannonball thing he does off the top rope, man. That was obviously insane. But obviously, you guys know what the highlight of the match was. Out now around the end of the match, they like the Creed brothers are really getting in the offense. They managed to get one of the legal man of Pretty Deadly back into the ring. And then Julius. Like, first off, one thing I thought was kind of strange is that this dude takes his sweet ass time when he gets on the top rope. Now, first, before he obviously hit the move, now knowing that he was obviously going to hit the shooting star press, obviously makes sense why he took his time when he was up there. We all know what happened last time a big man tried to do this move.
Wants to do it, Cole! Oh my God!
So it makes sense why he slowly got up there, kind of stayed there for a second, made sure he had his footing and everything. Was probably making a prayer to the wrestling gods that he doesn't too also break his neck, like Brock Lesnar did. So obviously that kind of makes sense. But I was like, but in the moment I was like, bro, why are you taking so damn long up the top rope? Because it's like it kind of like makes like you look stupid just for sitting there when your wife's like taking it for forever to get up there. But obviously knowing he was going for that makes sense why he took his time. But then of course he obviously hits the shooting star press. Everybody in the crowd loses their goddamn mind. Everybody, this got a huge pop, me included. I was like, holy shit, holy fuck. I even tweeted I was glad to see the move actually get done without a broken neck this time. So it was absolutely insane, man. And obviously the Creed brothers get the 1, 2, 3. I was actually kind of surprised that Roddy didn't show up and like congratulate his boys, or the other members, or really any of the other members of Diamond Mine coming in their sport. It was just the Creed brothers taking a championship, celebrating with their parents. Man, I thought at least Roddy would come up around there and be like, yeah, Diamond Mine, because you know of what happened. The Cold built for this match was like, hey, if the Creed brothers doesn't win the titles, they're out of Diamond Mine, you know. But, you know, this was a great moment. I'm sure the Creed brothers, it was really memorable for the Creed brothers to obviously have their parents there and be in front row and watch their sons win the championship and everything. Fantastic match, man. This was like classic NXT 1.0 right here, was this tag team match. Then, of course, we had the main event between Braun Breaker, no, I keep saying Bronson Reed, was Braun Breaker and, of course, Joe Gacy. Now, you guys know how much I love Joe Gacy, especially when he first came in there being basically mocking SJW culture. You guys know I thought it was hilarious. Although it has been interesting knowing that more recently he's basically become like a cult leader and not so much of like, we're all trying to be more inclusive. You know, he's kind of like stepped away from that and been more of like the crazy cult leader Bray Wyatt type character kind of thing he's rocking out now. It works great, and you can see, and he really rocked the craziness match. Like, there was one where he did like a running knee in the corner on Braun Breaker, where he just like starts staring at the corner, like staring into the camera, and he got the crazy eyes, man. It was insane. There was another time where I think he like lifted himself up where he was basically hanging upside down from the turnbuckles, and he just kind of did like when Bray Wyatt would do that spider crawl thing. Kind of reminded me of that, where he's like upside down just staring at Braun Breaker. But anyway, they both make their entrances, and obviously now apparently I don't know if this was mentioned. This stipulation was added on NXT or something, because I don't remember seeing this ever being mentioned at all during the build. I must have missed that episode, or I wasn't paying attention when that was on. But the whole thing with this match was if Braun Breaker gets disqualified, he'll lose the championship. There's no champion's advantage with this match. If he gets disqualified, he loses the title, and of course, Joe Gacy will become the new NXT champion. Now, of course, obviously with this stipulation, Joe Gacy did everything in his power to get him to have Braun Breaker go off. Like he started the match off where right before the bell rung, he slapped him, and obviously Braun Breaker was about to go in there. The ref stopped him. Then later on in the match, Braun Breaker goes ham on him, locks him into the corner, going at him, man, like with punches and everything. And then Joe Gacy slaps him again, obviously trying to rile him up. But that also doesn't fail. As the match continues on, like, also, like I said, Joe Gacy, he can sell a spear. or either he can like sell one hell of a spear, or Braun Breaker does not fuck around with his spears, man. Because there was another time where like later on in the match where Braun just straight spears Joe Gacy, and this man gets yeeted to the announce table. It gets destroyed, man. That was insane. And then obviously around the end of the match, which we'll talk about that one later, the spear in that one, I'm like, Jesus. So as the match progresses on, obviously, you know, they're still like, obviously his other like cult members are trying to ghost him into using the steel chair to get himself disqualified, or they're like handing him a steel chair and he doesn't use it, but he ends up using it later. And then of course around the end of the match, Joe Gacy goes into his inner Eddie Guerrero and grabs a steel chair, does the thing where he like hits it against the mat of the ring, and then tosses it over to Braun Breaker while he's falling to the ground. Now he didn't do the point that Eddie would used to do, but he would just fall to the ground. Obviously the ref saw this and like I always wondered why, whenever this happened, why they hold on to the chair. Why don't they just like instantly let go of it, or just like throw it to the outside of the ring or something? I always found that out, especially in this case with Braun Breaker, like, bro, if you get disqualified, you lose the title. Why are you holding the chair? I get it, you're probably confused, but like, yeet that thing to the outside. But anyway. He like that happens, and of course he's like begging with the ref not to disqualify him, that he didn't do it. Then a second official comes in there to tell him like, nah man, he's good. They continue on. Eventually I believe he gives the ref the steel chair, but obviously, and I saw this coming from a mile away. When I was like, what? This is gonna happen. And then right after like the ref like turned his back where you get rid of the chair, boom, low blow from Joe Gacy, which I was like, called it. So that happened, and then I believe Joe went for a rolled up. He got a very close near fall. I legit thought it was a 3, man. Whew, I even tweeted out, you had me going there. Because legit, I thought that was a 3-man. This sends Braun off, man. He starts going insane. He actually goes back and grabs the chair ready to use it. And then Joe's like, yes. He stripped. This man's strip became Barry White. He didn't like have his hands fully extended out, being like, yes, follow the buzzards, or like, hit me. He wasn't going full Bray Wyatt, but he was kind of going to his inner Bray Wyatt here, but then eventually Braun just like hits one of his cultists with the steel chair instead, and then does this devastating spearman. I'm like, bro, you could have killed him with this spear. You damn near cut him in half with this spearman. Seriously, that has to be one of the most deadliest, most brutal spears I've ever seen. Like, that's some Goldberg type shit spear, man. Like, shit, I don't know if he just goes in with his spears, or Joe Gacy can just sell the fuck out of a spear. But that was one nasty looking spear. But anyway, man. But yeah, he ends up with that. Of course, Braun goes for the pin for the 1-2-3. Like I said, phenomenal match, man. This was probably my favorite match on the night, man. I love this match. I love what they did with the storytelling with Braun Breaker and Joe Gacy, with trying to get him to get himself disqualified with the chair and everything. I had so much fun watching obviously the spear, and then of course, him getting yeeted to the announce table was fun. That was awesome to see, man. A lot of amazing spots, man. Yeah, this show was definitely a much needed improvement from the 2.0 era, man. This was a phenomenal show, man, and I absolutely loved it. But anyway, guys, overall, my final verdict for NXT in your house is going to be, as always, well, almost as always, Stand Deliver, this was different, but y'all know me. Amazing show, loved it. So many amazing matches, man. Like I said, kind of slowed down the middle with the women's matches, but it always picked itself right back up with the tag matches. The North American title match, of course, the 6-man tag match was entertaining as hell, and the main event was amazing to watch, man. Seriously. So yeah, if you ended up skipping in your house this for whatever reason, man, you didn't end up watching it, go back and watch it, man. It was a phenomenal show, man, and you will definitely be thoroughly entertained by it. But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting. We got Hell in a Cell tomorrow. No, I will not be reviewing it, but yeah, it's gonna be curious to know which one will reign supreme this weekend. It will between Takeover and Hell in a Cell, and then after that, in 2 weeks, I got Forbidden Door. Seriously, man, I have been one busy motherfucker this month with wrestling. You had fucking Double or Nothing, then then Takeover like the following week, and then in 2 weeks, I then got Forbidden Door, and then at the end of July, I got SummerSlam. It's crazy, man. It's crazy, man. But yeah, man, that's what we're gonna, but yeah, man. Yeah, as always, leave your thoughts down in the comments, guys, what you thought of In Your House. And as always, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new, follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you feel like it, links down in the description box below. And as always, come out for more. See you guys next time.
You